Welcome back to part 2 of what I pack and why I pack. We're going to go into some detail here. We'll get this open. And there goes my cat. How'd she get in there? We call her the terror. She gets into everything. So anyways, as I was saying before, I attempt to pack all the heavy things as far back and as low as I can. So we'll start off. This isn't the heavy stuff, but it's lighter stuff that just fills the space. Toilet paper. I don't do the camp toilet paper because I have the space for it. I just go into the bathroom, grab one, put it in a Ziploc bag with some hand sanitizer. Good enough, quick and easy. It's convenient. That's what this trailer does for me, is it allows me to do things that are a little bit more convenient. My Teva sandals. When I go on a trip, long trip, I only bring my riding boots and Tevas. Because the Tevas pack up so well, they're small. These are my street shoes. When I'm wearing these, the boots, I'm not riding the bike, I can store the boots on to the trailer. And when I store them onto the trailer, I put them between the hoop and the tire of the bike, upside down. That way if it rains, water drips off of it and it doesn't get wet inside. Next thing on the agenda that I can access is this folding seat. I got this folding seat at the Let's Take a Ride rally in Teco Plains, Tennessee, and I did not win this seat because of my riding prowess or my devastatingly good looks, although they're present. But the reason why I won this is because in the barrel race, I crashed twice, picked up the bike, finished the race, and everybody was amazed that I crashed with the trailer and I didn't care. For me, that's part of riding. And they were amazed I was able to finish the race, and so they gave me this folding chair. Very comfortable, fairly small, fairly lightweight, and I have the room for it, so I bring it. Now I have a front inner tube. The tires on the KTM 890 Adventure R are tubeless, but if you bend a rim or get a slash that you just can't fix, this will allow you to get air in there and ride the bike. And they, whoever they are, say that you can put a front tube into the rear tire for an emergency fix. I have not had to do that yet. I'm going to be heading up in another few weeks up to Oregon and Washington State, and I'll be doing the Oregon BDR. And from a couple of videos I've seen, it's very rocky and people have had tire damage and there are nails up there. So I am contemplating getting a rear inner tube to take with me because it might be that I don't need an emergency fix, I need a permanent fix. So I'm contemplating getting a rear tube as well. And I will have the space for it because of the trailer. This is a water filter kit. This is straight out of the packaging. I haven't even looked at it. I need to go through it and see what I am going to take and not take. But it's so light and packs up fairly small, I may just leave it like this because this gives me options for filtering water. This is my Fantic X8 APX air pump. I love this pump because it's a digital pump. It's battery powered, so I don't have to connect it to the bike to fill up tires. I've used other people's pumps, and while you're pumping, the analog gauge is bouncing. You can't tell how much pressure is in there. So you shut off the pump, wait for the gauge to settle. Okay, I'm going to put more. It bounces, and you keep on doing that until you get to where you want to get. This one, on the digital screen, you put what pressure you want in there. You hit the button, walk away. It shuts off when it's done. There's no flickering of the pressure. You can see it as it comes up. But the only thing I dislike about it are two things. One is the weight. But the trailer carries the weight so well, I don't care. And the second thing is, it's battery powered. At this point, I implement the ABCs of adventure riding, and that's always be charging. So when it needs charging, I can charge it up while I'm riding or at night while I'm sleeping. But this pump is awesome. I'd buy that in a heartbeat again if it broke. Next thing is, and this is heavy, so I put this above the tool bag, which is all the way down. But this is motorbike jack, and if you can go online and look at motorbikejack.com, find out what it is. This makes lifting a heavy adventure bike that is loaded way easier. I highly suggest looking into this, especially if you're going to be riding by yourself. Or if you're riding with somebody else who's just as tired as you, look into this. This is well worth it. But if you're packing onto your bike, this is heavy. You'll hear it when I throw it over here. It's heavy. The trailer doesn't mind the weight. I'd be on the fence whether I wanted it if I had loaded the bike up, because it is so heavy and there's no place to put it except for high and far back on a bike, and that kills performance. All right, let me take a breath on this one because this one's going to be heavy. 10 liters of water. So why would I want to carry 10 liters of water? Well, if you're going to do the Oregon BDR like I'm going to be doing, you want to carry extra water. If you're going to be doing the Nevada BDR, you should carry extra water. You're out in the middle of the desert. If something happens, bike breaks down, you break down, whatever it is, you need to stay hydrated through the hot day. So the interesting thing about this is I have the choice of carrying this much water. I would not want to carry even a gallon of extra water on a bike loaded, because where are you going to put it? Up high and far back? And liquid weight is heavy weight because it moves. In this case, when I start this next trip, this bladder will be empty. This bladder will be empty because 2,000 miles to get to the off-roading, there's a gas station every 40, 50, 60 miles. I can stop and get water anytime. I don't need to carry this much weight. But this gives me choices. When I get to where I'm going, at that point I'll decide whether I want to fill this up halfway, all the way, or not fill it at all. But choices is what this trailer does for me. So speaking of liquid weight being heavy weight, this trailer, the whole bottom of the trailer is fuel. It holds 6.5 gallons of fuel. The fuel tank is an integral part of the chassis, and that's where a lot of the rigidness comes for the chassis and why it functions so well. You might ask, why would I need to carry 6.5 gallons of fuel? I was visiting a friend in Florida. We went up to Tennessee to do the Let's Take a Ride rally, and taking back roads, we're doing about 60, 65 miles per hour, and at those speeds, the KTM 890 was getting a little bit better than 50 miles per gallon. That put me right at 600 miles. We went just shy of 600 miles before we had to stop for fuel again, and that is amazing on a motorcycle. Speaking of fuel mileage, we actually get a little bit better fuel mileage pulling the trailer because now the bike is narrower because there are no panniers on the side or loaded up top. Bikes are notoriously not very aerodynamic anyways, but bringing all that bulk off of the bike and putting it back here right behind the bike makes you more aerodynamic, and you do get better fuel mileage. You won't get 600 miles riding off-road because you're using on and off the throttle and loaded, but having the extra fuel is good. I wouldn't need 6.5 gallons usually, so in that case I could put 2 gallons in there or 3 gallons in there. If I put all 6.5, that means I would have 3 gallons for myself, which I could transfer on the fly, and I could have 3 gallons for my riding friend who, carrying an extra gallon of fuel and an extra gallon of water high up on their bike, it just kills performance. I can carry the fuel for them and transfer it to them, not while we're riding. This isn't the Air Force, but we'll stop. I can transfer fuel over to them, 3 gallons of fuel to them. Like in the Nevada BDR, if you're carrying only 1 gallon of extra fuel and you stop at some place where they have a gas station but they're out of fuel, you're kind of stuck at that point because that gallon of fuel may not get you to the next fuel stop, which could be 100 miles away. Next thing I keep as low as I can, as far back as I can, is my tool bag, which we went through in part 1. When I don't have the water in there, it will be all the way against the back of the trailer, all the way down, because this is one of the heavier things that I carry in the trailer. A camp towel. This isn't, but it's very close to a ShamWow. I don't know where they came up with that name. It's kind of funny though. But this works awesome because it doesn't get moldy. It packs up small. It dries me very quick. I wring it out, put it back in here, throw it back in the box, good to go. Band-aids and the first aid kit. For obvious reasons, I have this with me, but I keep them up in the top of the trailer always because you never know when you're going to need it. And keeping it in the top of the trailer, if I get hurt and I'm immobile, I say, hey, go get into my trailer, first aid kit is there. They open it, they can see it straight away, quick and easy. And when it comes to needing first aid, time is essential. Always pack wet wipes, because this is a quick, simple way of maintaining hygiene when out on a ride. This right here, I love this kit. This is the Baja Designs S1 lights, which is a single LED light. The box isn't from Baja Designs, this is just something I put them in. But what I do is I have some GoPro mounts on the side of my helmet, and I put a light on each side, and I run a spaghetti cord to the motorcycle. There's a 3-position switch that controls this. In the center is off, to the left is on, regardless of whether the key is, whether the key is in the ignition or not. And to the right, the lights only come on with the high beams on. And what's nice about that is, let's say like I'm riding off-road and I see some riders coming towards me, this would blind them. I could turn off the high beams quick and easy, and they can see, I can still see, they can go by it, and I can turn them back on. But the really nice thing about this setup is where I look is where there's light. I've had issues with motorcycles where the lights are not attached to the handlebars, and they're aimed where they're aimed, no matter if you turn the handlebars or not. I've had motorcycles with headlights attached to the handlebars, and you can turn the handlebars and see a little better, but the field of range is only so far. This is awesome. Love this, actually. Alright, what's next is, this is just thrown in there, and it is a bag of cordage, 50-foot bag of cordage. Very small, very light. I can lash stuff onto the trailer, onto the motorcycle, whatever's needed. I can break plastic off of the motorcycle and lash it back down with this very easily. This is cheap, very useful. Use this for anything. If wind kicks up, I can use this as guy lines for a tent, a tarp, whatever. Very nice to have that. This is something else that sometimes I bring. It's this plastic deal, and I can wrap basically anything, but most times I'll put parachute cord onto this. I like the cordage better, although I like that with parachute cord, I can take the inner cords out and thread something together if I need to. It's kind of hard to do with the accessory cord. But this packs up a little bit larger, a little bit. It's not as flexible to stow as that, but sometimes I'll bring that. 12 stakes. This is what I use to do my bivy sack and my war bonnet outdoors ground tarp, and we'll talk about that next. My camping setup is Outdoor Research bivy sack, and this actually they claim adds 10 degrees of warmth to the rating of your sleeping bag because there's so little airspace inside. And then this is a war bonnet ground tarp, and it's not the ground tarp in the way that you might be thinking where it's a tarp flat on the ground. This is basically, they make tarps for hammocks, and this is basically the rain tarp that would be over a hammock but designed to be set up on the ground without the tarp. So it's basically a primitive tent. So what I'll do is, if I'm base camping, I'll set up my bivy sack, I'll set up this over the bivy sack, and then I'll go out for a ride, come back, go out for a ride, come back, and I'll actually take some of the things I don't need with me on the trail and leave them underneath the ground tarp so that they're out of the weather and the trailer isn't as heavy. And when the trailer isn't as heavy, I ride the bike like the trailer isn't even there. I don't slow down. It's amazing. You have to, I have some videos that I'm going to have to edit and get on here shortly of some off-roading trips, but keep in touch with us and you'll see those and you can see for yourself. But what I do with this is, if I'm doing a BDR and it's from A to Z with stops B, C, D, E, F, G in the middle, If I think that the weather's going to be nice, I'll only do the bivy sack. And this is so small that I can set it up in the wind and take it down in the wind. It's easy to manage. If I think the weather's going to be bad, this will still keep me dry, but I'll put this up as well. And as I've been saying, I love choices. I keep my business cards because I give out a lot of business cards because there's a lot of interest over the trailers. I'll keep that on top, usually right next to the first aid kit and the Band-Aids. This is my sleeping pad. It's a Sea to Summit Comfort Plus. This pad works out really well because I've had pads that have leaked and I've been woke up laying on the ground in the morning. This has 2 chambers, and if one chamber goes flat, I'm still supported off the ground. I have not had any issues. This has been holding air. This is the best sleeping pad I've had, and even though it's a little bit thinner, it's still more comfortable than the thicker pads I've had. Really like that a lot. This is my pot for cooking. I like it because the lid locks into place, and I put my MSR camp stove in here, and usually I'll put oatmeal or other small things in here just to take up space, because once it's in here and I close it up, it doesn't take any additional space in the box. I have a pot that's very similar to this, just slightly larger. I'll bring that if there's 2 of us going, so I can cook meal for both of us. This is the fuel I use. I use a large one because I don't want to run out of fuel. This one's been through several trips and I'm still using it, but I have the space for it. If you're loading up your bike, this is something you may not do because you're counting ounces and you're counting volume. You're trying to get everything as small and as light as you can. With the trailer, I don't worry about it as much, and I actually have more performance going with a heavily loaded trailer than you do with a lighter loaded bike. Here is my tablet. I guess I'm a free cell addict, so I play some free cell at night before I go to bed. I throw it in the box. It's protected. I carry it with me. I don't worry about damaging it. I don't worry about the weight, so I bring it. I carry a little container of dish soap in a Ziploc bag in case it leaks, because without the bag, it's guaranteed to leak. This serves multiple purposes: doing dishes, washing hands, or it helps me put on the tire. I'll lather up the bead to help get onto the rim when I'm changing tires. I have electrolyte in individual packs. I like this because it's quick and easy to mix up a small bottle of this stuff in midday or even at dinner time. When you're riding, you sweat a lot sometimes and you need to replace that energy. So I have that easily accessed in the top. I have this cheap tarp from Walmart probably. This has multiple uses, and I like having things that have multiple uses. This, if I'm changing tires or working on the bike, I'll spread this out. It keeps all my tools from getting lost in the sand. It keeps my parts clean. The other time I'll use this is if I'm going to be base camping. I may set this up on the ground, set up my bivy sack on top of it, and then set up the Warbond Outdoor ground tarp over that, and this kind of helps keep the humidity from the grass from coming up on the bottom side of the tarp. Multiple uses. It's cheap. If it gets moldy and tore up, I replace it. Super cheap. This is my clothes. I can go a whole lot in here. Quick and simple. 4 pairs of socks, 5 pairs of socks maybe, 4 pairs of underwear, 2 shirts, 1 long sleeve, 1 short sleeve. They're both quick dry. And then I have a small jacket, 1 pair of pants. And I wear 1 pair of pants, or I only pack 1 pair of pants because while I'm riding, I'm always wearing my Climb off-roading gear. This is only for hanging out around the fire, or if I'm going to be going into town. Quick and easy. This is fairly stoutly filled. I love these soft containers that are square because they end up being squarish, and squarish things fill square containers better than duffel sacks that end up round, and then you have to fill the voids in between. These work out really well for that. This is my sleeping bag. This is a synthetic sleeping bag. This is my winter bag, and I bring this because when it gets wet, and it has happened, but we're not going to talk about that because I'll end up going postal. It was not a good time. But when this does get wet, you don't lose a lot of the warmth capability. So even though I'm uncomfortable, I wasn't freezing. I may bring my down sleeping bag on this next trip, and I'll show you the size of bag I'm going to put it into. It'll be the same size of bag I put my clothes in. And I'll go and bring up my food bag, which will be this size bag I put the sleeping bag in, but you can tell the difference in size. So that would give me a lot more room to store stuff inside with the down bag. They make down bags now that are treated, and they do better when they get wet. That'll probably be my next purchase. But in here, I carry food, and I have a habit of carrying too much food. In the trailer, it's not a big deal. You saw that when we opened it, we had enough space for my cat to be in there. I'm sure she wasn't happy about it, but what can you do? They're so sneaky. So space and weight-wise, it's not a problem, but I probably should learn to pack better on the food, because then the trailer will be lighter and it'll be even easier. Name of the game, no matter whether you have a trailer or whether you're loading it on the bike, the lighter the better. This bag I got at the last rally I was at in Tennessee, and what I use this bag for is I'll put a plastic grocery bag in here, and this protects that bag, and this becomes my garbage bag. I'm a strong believer in I packed it in, I'm going to pack it out. I don't litter, I don't leave my garbage. And then, so once I start putting garbage in here, I'll store it inside of the tire with the cover on it, which is on top of the trailer. Next time I go to the gas station, I'll empty this out, put it back inside. I start making garbage again. I start putting it in here, putting it up underneath the tire. Next gas station, empty it out, rinse, wash, rinse, repeat. Next thing I have in here is a strap. This strap is very versatile. I can use it to strap things down. I think it's about 12 feet-ish, somewhere around in there. I can tie things down with it. I don't have to use the end of the strap if I don't want to. Between this and I don't know where I put it, the tow rope I showed in part 1, I can do a lot of self-recovery between that rope and this strap. Takes up very little space, but it's extremely versatile. The last thing I have in here is healthy, I don't know if you want to call them tent poles or whatever they are, but I use these to erect the War Bonnet Outdoors ground tarp. Now this is fairly long. I don't think I'd be too happy to carry this if I were trying to load everything on the bike, because this being as long as it is may make it difficult to attach it onto the bike. But in the trailer box, that's all there is to it, and I start loading things in, easy peasy. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come in and do a close-up of the side of the trailer for a couple reasons. One is you can get my phone number, you can get our email address, TDI support. It's kind of hard to read that R because I beat the crap out of it. TDI support at Tailwinds Designs Inc. And as you can see, it's got scratches everywhere, dents, big dents. I'm not nice to this trailer. I beat the crap out of this trailer just to make sure it will handle the majority of what can be done to it. Like I said, when I'm off-road, I typically don't slow down when the going gets tough because of the trailer. I ride like it's not even there. And the lighter I have the trailer loaded, the less it affects the bike and the more fun I can have. I wouldn't want to ride as aggressively with everything on the bike as I do with it in the trailer, just because I felt how the loading the bike saps performance. This does not. That pretty much wraps up what I carry in the trailer and why I carry it, where I carry it. The suspension on the trailer is amazing. It handles the weight well, extremely well. It carries the center of gravity down low. It carries extra fuel, extra water. Is a trailer necessary? No, you can do it without the trailer, but you saw how much water I had loaded, 6.5 gallons of fuel. I challenge anybody that even carries 1 gallon of water and 1 gallon of fuel on their bike for a 2-week-long, 3-week-long, 4-week-long ride to ride as aggressively off-road as I do with the trailer. And I gladly accept the challenge, and when we get out there to ride, we can swap bikes and you can see what I'm talking about. And if you crash, I'm sure you won't crash harder than I have. She handles it well. Anyways, that's basically it. I'm glad that I hope you all enjoyed it and got some good information from it. We will see you when we start talking about the different style of boxes, because that will be an interesting video as well. Talk to you all later. Bye. Stop.